Ballz Visual Radio it is. Funnily enough, that stopped immediately after the words Nicole uttered. Do you want to share exactly what those words were?
Yeah, that's Brian's going to propose to me.
Brian is going to propose to you.
No, I'm just joking. I told him to bring the cows with.
The Labola.
His wife said no.
All right, let's welcome first of all your round of applause, Brian Baloyi.
Thanks very much.
And nice to see you, Brian. Nice to catch up with you again.
Yeah,
how are you doing? You're looking very spiff.
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's quite a transition, but I'm used to it by now. It's almost 10 months since I retired.
Is it only 10 months?
Only 10 months.
How old are you now?
38.
38.
Yeah.
Not the oldest goalkeeper, not the oldest goalkeeper to retire, by the way, because there have been goalkeepers in this country that have gone into their 40s and still been playing.
Andre Arons is one of them.
He's still playing, isn't he?
I think he would still love to play, but the body, the bones don't, they can't carry him until that long.
Yeah.
But one of the great goalkeepers, Andre, played until his 40s. But
did he irritate you? Did he carry it on for so long?
Kind of, a little. Not just him. Most of the players, I've got a lot of friends. I mean, Shoes played well into his 40s until 44, 45.
There's a guy we need to catch up. What is Shoes doing now?
Shoes, he's doing quite a lot of great work. Myself and him, we are part owners in a club in Alex called Alex United.
Okay.
And he's a coach there as well.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I was making a note here, trying to get Shoes in here sometime. Let's catch up with him, because another one of the legends, obviously from the glory days of Bafana. And what else are you up to at the moment?
At the moment, I'm the commercial and marketing manager at Baloyi Sundowns, and I'm having fun there.
Well, good. And I was actually watching last night, looking at all the results of all the knockout games over the weekend. Pole position for you guys, although there's that little niggling derby that could be coming up against SuperSport.
I was talking about it today. I said I'm anticipating, both of us going through. And because the league derby is on, I think, on the 17th.
Okay.
No, on the 12th
of
May. That's just the one league game.
And the finals on the 16th.
The finals is on the 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later. Okay.
So I was saying, I'm hoping that we both go through, and we'll have two Tshwane derbies in succession, and it would be great. It would be great for football, more especially for Pretoria. I think. It's coming back again, where people used to call it the PSL, the Pretoria Soccer League. So looks like it's going there again. Yeah.
Well, I'm a big SuperSport United fan for obvious reasons, having spent more than half my life at the institution and seeing that club develop from when they started as a second division side, and they worked their way up. In fact, they started lower leagues and they worked their way through the various divisions up to the first division in those days.
Yeah, they worked their way, and.
Tommy Madikaki.
He's still with the club. He's a great servant of the game. But I think one of the persons that I think that's in the background and we never hear much about and talk about is Jose Ferreira. It's quite remarkable what we won the league twice in succession, and then he left us, went to SuperSport and won it 3 times. So he won the league 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
As the CEO at the club, and he's doing quite a remarkable job.
Yeah. Is it all about the structure of the clubs and just because what is your thought on the whole management merry-go-round? Look, Gavin has been at SuperSport now for a long time. He's won a few titles with them. Look, we know that obviously Sundowns, it hasn't been as settled management-wise, but there are a lot more demands on it. When we see SuperSport games, it's not a massive fan base, and that's the problem. There's not a lot of pressure on coaches there, so it's literally up to the SuperSport directors to decide whether they keep the guys or not. Gavin was being offered from all over the place, and they managed to keep him at SuperSport. They still in contention now, although they don't think they're going to win the title this year. And then obviously we've seen on the other side of the coin how coaches come and go. We've seen Chiefs now dump another coach. Sundowns have had a few changes in personnel. We've seen Pirates sack a coach when he's just won the league in Gordon, and we were chatting about Gordon last week and the success that he's had. Obviously Gavin's been pretty successful with the sides he's had. So What is the situation as far as coaching in this country? Have we got down to the point where if you lose 3 or 4 games, you can expect to be called into the boardroom?
Yeah, I think unfortunately that's where it is. But I would love to see, Gavin sticking with SuperSport and going all the way and not be tempted by the so-called big clubs and stay with the club there. Just like Arsene Wenger and
Alex Ferguson.
Alex Ferguson and see a coach that would stick it out I think for him as well with SuperSport it's not about. I mean, SuperSport is right up there with the top clubs in terms of paying them very well, and as well I think for me I would love to see even the bigger clubs. The plan with Sundowns at the moment, finally the club has got big plans. It's got with the coach that we have now, not only one of the best coaches that I've seen come to the club, one of the great players the world has ever seen. But the plan that the club has for the coach and what the plans that the coach has for the club as well. It's really big, and what we're doing now with the club, the partnership with the Johan Cruyff Institute, is what's more important, and the link between the Johan Cruyff Institute and the first team and with the coach, because the philosophy that he's bringing is what now we're teaching our young boys, where we have a 4-year partnership with the Johan Cruyff Institute, and. For now, things are going well, hoping that we'll keep the coach for the next 4 years. And we have 2 young coaches that are, his assistants. And the club is hoping that one of them, by that time, 4 years' time, will be ready to take over as the head.
So you promote from within as opposed to going looking out. Because Kaiser's always had this philosophy and maintains it to this day when it comes to a massive side like Chiefs is... that he won't go for a local South African coach. Now, we were discussing this last week, saying that probably 2 of our most successful coaches from a PSL point of view have been South African coaches. So why would they not look at a South African coach? What is it about some teams that will always look for the international, the overseas coach?
Yeah, I think the other thing with the bigger clubs as well, sometimes you get caught in this debate or politics where you want to say because this coach now, he never played for Chiefs, and and when you look at the most successful, we don't have a coach that as a footballer that played for Chiefs, as opposed to someone that's coming up right now is doctor, but is still hasn't achieved that much as a coach, but hopefully he will get to be one of the
hopefully SuperSport will give him some time off. They can do the job.
And at the moment the only one is Steve Compella, where he did play for Chiefs, but as well with him as well, I think at some point people believe that he's done enough with the smaller clubs, particularly Free State Stars. But I guess at the end of the day, it's about him, whether he does want, can he take the pressure? Coaching Free State Stars is not the same as coaching Kaiser Chiefs. So hopefully one day.
Although if you were doing it this week or the last couple of weeks, you'd actually be very happy to be coaching Free State Stars because they've done them in twice.
They've done very well.
Brian, who gave you the nickname Spider-Man?
Spider-Man was the supporters, Saddam Make, his group. They and I tried to ask what was the whole thinking behind it. They said, spiders, they build webs in the corners. And they said, I fly, I catch ball in those corners. I reminded them was spider web. Okay.
So bless his soul, Saddam, one of the legendary supporters who we lost earlier on. And what do you think of Itumeleng? He's different. He's kind of in the maybe a little bit from the Brian Baloyi era as well, as far as. But I mean, is he? As you get older, do you kind of wear off those rough edges and become more sort of conservative, because he's obviously a much spoken about goalkeeper, not only from just his performances but also some of his quirks.
That's I speak.
Is he your number one choice? Do you think he should be still South Africa's number one choice? Who is your number one choice at the moment?
It's him.
Yeah. Okay.
Munip is not that far off, but I think any day I think I would. Obviously, just like any other player, he's got flaws here and there. I speak to him a lot. I think for me, I think if he, with ability and talent, he's got it. He's right up there with the best in the world. I think he's got immense talent. I think he just needs to be directed in the proper way. I can point out even stuff in the World Cup where with the Spain, when he saved that ball. Remember when he was rushing to throw that, I was screaming, saying stop, and and it came back, a few seconds later, it came back, it was in the back of our net. But sometimes you learn from those mistakes, and I believe if someone can be able to tap into his head, because I always talk to a lot of people and say, the reason. Mostly when you look at African goalkeepers that make it in Europe, you'll find that it's either they went to Europe at a younger age and developed the European style of play, and because it's different, and when you play here, then you get used to a bit of bad habits and less conservative, and most because of the fans like it. But at some point when you go and get older. With me, it was a point where I saw having that for me to play for the national team, I knew that I had to change my game. And I think if he does that early on in his career, he'll be able to go and play, in Europe. If not in the big leagues like England, but I think
he's talented enough to do that. But I think he's got to. You can't afford to do some of the stuff that Look, a lot of people go a game just to watch him, as you say, and I think a lot of people go and watch you as well, purely because for the entertainment factor, and because people love that kind of mystery of what's he going to get up to, what's he going to do. Bruce Grobbelaar was that kind of. There will be one or two guys, but when you kind of look at it in a in certain like in a national aspect, as you say, you can't afford to be doing that. When you cost your country, that's a different story.
I think one person that can give him good advice would be Gary Bailey. Because Gary, all his life when he played in England, he never did all those things. But remember,
did you see 79 FA Cup final against Arsenal? Sorry, that's only memory I could ever keep repeating.
But he wasn't that really overboard. But when he came to South Africa, I remember when he played for Chiefs, he used to dance during the game. He used to do crazy stuff. When the ball goes the other side, he'd go, just behind the goals and be dancing with the fans once the game was on. And and when he came back. I think when he came to Chiefs, Gary, I think, he got it quickly that for him to be popular in South Africa, he needed to do that,
But also just like the timing right, because if you'd done any of that with Ferguson, they would have been him gone.
Was it a big decision for you in 2009 to come out of retirement? I know that you were involved in the Confederations Cup there. Joel Santana summoning you, Brian?
For me at the time, I mean... It was great. It was an honor, and at the time, I believed I had a shot at even to make the World Cup squad.
Yes.
And for me at the time, I felt I pushed myself to the limits, and to try and make the squad. And I did. I made the Confed Cup squad, and I was at the time, I remember I was at, I guess one of the most fittest times in my career, because even when we came back from the Confed, when I got back to the club, when we did the club's pre-season, I was one of the fittest guys, and the guys couldn't believe it, what's happening, and but I had great times, and I missed out on the World Cup, but and soon after that, I looked at myself and I felt that. I've done everything possible in the game. I've achieved everything. I didn't think there was still anything really possible for me to really, and more especially with the World Cup gone as well. And I looked at myself. I said, at the end of last season, I felt It had been 20 years as a pro, and I felt it was a good time for me to, to say goodbye.
Yeah. Nicole has I've got a question for you about Nicole as well, but first of all...
Simon wants to go first.
That's fine.
Okay. I asked Brian when he was walking and seeing that he works with Mamelodi Sundowns and so on. That,
are you an ambassador for them or what?
Almost.
Did you go to Brazil? You went to Brazil with him?
Soccering's with Brian. That's how I know Brian well. Yeah.
Right.
And,
did you behave, Brian?
Very much. Yeah.
As John was saying in the
Did she wear a bikini over in Brazil?
Unfortunately, she didn't. I don't know. Maybe there was times in the afternoon she went to the beach with Megan. So
yeah, Megan Coleman came with us because she's also yeah. Anyway, as John was saying in the sport earlier, that Mamelodi Sundowns had a fine to pay because of the fans.
$100,000.
And Brian mentioned something very interesting, seeing that we've been talking about it for a week, about cameras. Brian?
Yeah, I was saying, I think it's about time that locally we implement this. I mean, more especially at all the World Cup stadiums, we have the technology, to be able to identify all these people and ban them from the game, because I mean they're not good for the sport.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, then the clubs suffer. But I think the club should push the PSL to implement these things. Yeah.
Mike wants to know, did you dress up for this particular interview, or is that your daily dapper attire? That is how he dresses for Sundowns, Mike, so thanks very much. He's in Hong Kong listening to us between 8 and midnight in Hong Kong now, so pretty cool.
For me, I'm just putting a tie on when I sell my drugs here. Same thing.
Do you know the three big... Neil Collins, who's a big supporter of ours. Thanks a lot, Neil. You must know Neil.
Yeah,
you know Neil. And that's a good point. A lot of people don't know that the three biggest derbies in the world. Do you know what the three biggest footballing derbies in the world are?
I know it's Barcelona, Madrid. It's Manchester.
Yep.
And the third one would be Boca Juniors and River Plate.
No. Chiefs Pirates. El Clasico. He says El Clasico at the Nou Camp. I thought the Milan derby was bigger than the Manchester derby, but according to him, he says it's now El Clasico at the Nou Camp, Ace Clasico in Soweto, and El Clasico in Manchester. But I don't know. I thought the Milan derby was bigger than the Manchester derby. But the Chiefs Pirates. Oh no, hold on, it's not. Rangers Celtic is a bigger derby than all of them. It's the biggest derby of all of them. In fact, Neil, I would happily debate that with you.
Yeah, me too. Even Boca Juniors River Plate could
massive, be in there as well. Interesting. We find out which one it is. Is it the Glasgow derby? I think is the biggest one in the world. Then Chiefs Pirates is definitely in the top three,
in the top
and it's one of the others. Yeah. So thanks a lot for that, Neil. And Brian Orison listening in the car at the moment. So. There you go. You can listen in the car. Simon, you had a question.
Yeah. I'd just like to know from Brian. We've been notified recently that Bafana slipping down to 73rd or first in the world. What needs to happen in the national setup for us to get back to proper winning ways and to
win?
To win.
I believe.
Bring back Brian.
I believe that I think as a country we didn't have a good succession plan. As much as we'd like to believe we had a good 96 tournament, we had a great bunch of players. But
that's kind of where it ended, though. We kept celebrating and not thinking.
But one of the reasons is because it was not planned.
Yeah,
it was never planned. And it's something that just happened. We were handed to host the Nations Cup at the time, and fortunately we had a great bunch of players at the time, but so there was no succession plan after that, and now we're always living in the dreamland.
We're trying to catch up.
Catch up. But in essence, we never really had a plan.
Yeah. Is the talent still the same as what we had in those days? Because obviously, I think there was more of a consistency as far as selection goes. You kind of knew who your Bafana, your 14, 15 core players in that squad were always going to be at that time. Now it just seems that this, and look, obviously players that play overseas and can make it some weeks and can't make it other weeks, it is difficult. And the more South Africans that are playing in England and overseas, the more difficult it is to try and get them to come back for certain games. And I think some of the games are really unnecessary. I really do. I think there should be more of a streamlined international window, and some games that should be left to stay over there. Other games, get them here. Otherwise they end up in you never know your team from one week to the next. So, but is the talent still the same quality as it was back then?
Yeah, the quality is still there, and I mean, when you speak to people like Benny now, even him coming back, he thought, I'm going back to an easier league. But when he comes here, when you speak to him now, he'll tell you that the standard is much higher than it is perceived. More especially, maybe defensively. That's where you hear a lot of people. When I speak to a lot of European coaches that are in the country, I speak to our coaches. They tell you, if they had to look for foreign players, as from Europe, to bring them here, they say no, they wouldn't. They would struggle to play in this league. But all over Europe now we have a lot of young players that are. I think, like you said earlier, sometimes one thing that makes a great team is having consistency and having at least a core of the team
to build around,
and that. The consistency and that builds kind of not only trust but between the players and the coach as well, but it even the players grow as a team as well. But I think it will take years for us to see for someone to plan like the Spanish did with the current team that I have. When you follow where it started. I think even the German team that had a similar plan, but theirs just didn't get the same results. But the planning on that, I think we need to have a certain plan and to identify what type of style do we want to play. I mean, at some point we have a director of coaches being a German guy. And having our coaches as Brazilians.
Yeah, it's great. But it's also crazy because also then you're utilizing players and pretty much your Spanish players that are playing in different leagues around the world, and we've seen a lot of them playing in England, they are allowed to play the kind of football that in other words, those teams take them and let them play the kind of football that, made them well known as Spanish players. Yeah. The same with the German guys. The German guys bring a little bit of stability to bring that German structure and stability. The players are allowed to play as they play in their own country. Yeah. They bring that flair to the different leagues. Yeah, you don't know what you're getting when you take a South African player. And I mean, generally, you look at a guy like Lucas. He brought that solid defensive discipline and structure to the Leeds defense, and he was a legend there. Maybe one or two other South Africans might also be doing. Stephen is an example. Yeah. But are South Africans allowed to actually take the South African culture, whatever that is, and is there one to the leagues that they play in?
No, I believe one of the things that's messed up our game is this thing with the academies, and when you look back in the in the 80s and the early 90s. The reason European clubs would come and take a player here because he was bringing something different. Yeah. Now with these academies, we are teaching them, the European style of play whilst they're young. So now when they go there, they're not bringing anything different. They're even looking at them that now we have better than what he's bringing. So now I think we need to identify with our own style and just keep it unique. Just keep to it and just bring in a bit of discipline into it. Only,
Well, I mean, can they take a youngster? Sometimes we hear about players only when they're already playing overseas. And then everyone suddenly, he's playing in a top league overseas. Can we bring a guy back here when he hasn't even really played much football in South Africa and slot into our style? Is it going to work? Is it necessarily an automatic thing that if suddenly a player's name pops up, he's been playing overseas, you want to bring him back here? Is he going to fit into our style? Probably not.
Probably not, yeah. I mean, like you're saying, we have a lot of them that are, all over Belgium, in Sweden, we have lots of players there, in America, even in the lower divisions in England as well. So all these players, we find that they never played professional in South Africa. They went there whilst they're young, and then we identify them now. And when we bring them here, you find in our team there'll be almost 10 of them that are coming out from different places,
different types of football.
And when they get there now, the coach has to it's got only a weekend to get them to
streamline
them and tell them now about his philosophy.
This is the way we play.
Yeah. So sometimes it takes. I think the great coaches it's not about their philosophy, but they play to the strengths of the players.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes at national level, sometimes that's what you got to do.
And Pizza, is he the man for the job? Do you believe?
Yeah, put him on the spot there.
For me, I think he spent a lot of years being an understudy to a lot of coaches, and when he got the job, I was one of the people that was rooting for him to get the job. But I believe he could have done better. He could do better. I don't know what the problem is.
But is it always kind of like he's always worked under this thought that it's not really permanent? So ever since he's got the job, Pizza's kind of had to work under all right, well, look, you have got the job, but, we've got our eye on somebody else just in case. So he's never really been given that, okay, go for it. You've got the long-term thing. Is almost kind of, as soon as something goes wrong, it's like, well, let's, he's worked under pressure all of his Bafana career.
Yeah. I think the other thing that has really as well helped the country with producing, good coaches into the national team at all levels would be for our clubs to employ the local coaches, especially even the bigger clubs, because the Mazulus, Arrows, they've always employed local coaches.
Yeah.
Now when you're seeing even Arrows having a European coach, a Mazulu, now you start asking yourself questions. Now are we gonna have coaches, local coaches, coming through. I mean, but earlier on you mentioned Gordon. I mean, I think he's one of the best coaches that this country.
Well, he should get a crack because I mean, look, you don't even have to look at the titles he's won with different clubs. At every club he's touched has found success. But I mean, Swallows is a perfect example. He's taken them from, it would have been a disaster for them to be relegated. You almost look there going, please, somebody save them, because you cannot have a league with Swallows not there. Swallows have to be there. They're one of the great traditional clubs of South African soccer. They need to be in the top flight. He saved them last year, and he's put them in contention this year. So you've got to look at him and say he's doing something right. Let's give him a crack. Give him a crack at the job.
Yeah, I think for me with him as well, I mean, he's coached Sundowns. He's coached, he's won the league there.
Yeah.
For now, for him, I would say, for me personally, I would say not even look at going to. He's done it with Pirates.
Yeah.
The only big club left is Chiefs. I would say don't even go there. For him, from Swallows, the next step should be at national level. Whether with the first team or even with the Olympic team, and because that's I think the one area as well that a lot of other African countries that have done well. Is at the youth level, and that's where we need to start doing well. With under 17s, the under 20s, the Olympic teams.
Look at the time already. Wow, it's been. We have a quick chat, and we're running like way over our time. We're still going to have a look at our sports headlines. Right, nice to catch up with you, and look forward to catching up with you again sometime in the future. But it's good to see. Just one final question, quickly: how many cows for Nicole do you reckon? What is the Lobola? What is the Lobola for Nicole?
2.
I told her, in my family, we are very flashy. When we do stuff, we want everyone to notice. So we're coming with a new culture. So we pair Lobola with elephants.
Brilliant!
How many elephants?
I would say.
You didn't say rhino.
I would say about 10 elephants.
10 elephants. There we go. Then you can cross Kilimanjaro with your elephants. There you go, Miss Hannibal. Listen, nice to catch up with you, Brian Baloyi.
Thanks for inviting me.
Very nice to see you again, and all the best. Yeah, and all the best for Sundowns as well. It's going to be an interesting run into the league title this year, so good luck with that.
Yep,
Can you give John some advice on how to dress properly for work?
Yeah.
You are stylish.
Believe me, I would love to be as casual as that.
No, well, look, Derek Watts gives him his old shirts. Maybe Patrice has got some old suits he can hand down to John, and that'll be comprehensive.